Hello, you're all very welcome to this course on personal safety awareness, which also covers the areas of violence and aggression. So this session is just a snapshot of the full course that's been designed to give you an overview of key areas such as the likes of personal safety strategies, which just means that we're being aware, being prepared, and that we're staying safe. We're also going to touch off relevant legislation, and by the end of the course you'll learn how to recognise warning signs, you'll know how to assess risk and know how to respond to different situations, whether that's at work, if we're travelling or in public areas. But it's important to remember violence and aggression. They can happen at any time and at any place, so it's important we remain alert and aware of our surroundings. The full course looks into these areas in greater detail, including planning ahead, creating personal action plans, practicing de-escalation type techniques, and incident reporting. All of these measures aim to ensure your personal safety. We're now going to look at the aims and objectives in the way that in which we work and our exposure to personal safety risks as well. So I'm sure most of us have dealt with difficult people at some stage or another where we felt uncomfortable or threatened. And it's in those moments it's important to be able to assess the level of risk. And we don't need to be experts at all to assess risk, It's often our gut instinct that's telling us when something doesn't feel right, and it's important then to follow that. So situations, they can change so quickly, and sometimes we're faced with situations that take us outside of our kind of normal comfort zone, and we don't know how to react because we're not trained appropriately. But this training has been put together to give you the knowledge and the confidence so that you make the right decisions for your personal safety, irrespective of the setting. And by the end of this session, you should be able to recognize the key signs when safety could be at risk and know how to manage it safely. We'll also be looking at why planning ahead is so important. So a little bit of forward planning makes a big difference in the long run. You're going to learn how to create simple strategies and develop a personal action plan for different situations. And we go through these together as we make our way through the presentation. So a personal action plan, just mentioned there, that just means that you're staying aware, that you're reducing the risk, and that you're knowing the emergency steps and reviewing your habits to make sure that you stay safe. So the aim of this course is to help you feel more confident. That's what I'm aiming for when you're faced with incidents of violence or aggression, and to make sure you know how to report an incident and the importance of that step, and also the steps to take during and after an incident as well. So your safety is the most important thing. That's the key thing to get across. And being able to spot the warning signs and handle challenging situations will make all the difference to staying safe. So we're now going to look at personal safety to see if you're at risk and where you might be at risk. So first, think about your journey to and from work. Are you traveling at night? Are you using public transport or walking through quiet areas? For example, it'd be a good idea to walk in a well-lit, well-populated area, or park close to a building, or let someone know your travel plans. They can all help reduce the risk. I remember arriving to an audit a few years ago. When I arrived on site, there was no parking. So I parked the car down the road. But as I got out, I could see people looking over as I didn't blend in because I was wearing a suit, and I felt uncomfortable as I walked away from the car. And I decided, look, I'm going to make the decision here. I'm going to walk back. And I ended up parking the car on the edge of the pitch of the school and then explaining to the head teacher why I'd done it. So it was a bit like getting the sixth sense. So you need to always trust your gut instinct. At the end of the day, you're making decisions for your own safety. And I was asked on a course recently, what do I mean by gut instinct? Well, I guess that the best way to describe it is your built-in alarm system. So when something feels wrong, it's a signal to pause, pay attention, and choose a safer option. Secondly, then, think about your day-to-day work, the tasks that you're doing. Are you meeting clients alone? Are you handling money? Are you visiting unfamiliar places? For example, it'd be a good idea to arrange meetings in a public area, or keeping valuables out of sight, or checking in with a colleague. They can all make you feel safer. For example, sometimes social workers, they might call a colleague before they go into a premises to get them to call them after a set period of time, and they'll have a key word to use if assistance is needed. And then thirdly, consider where you could be exposed to violence and aggression. It could be from a member of the public, it could be a frustrated customer, or even a colleague that's under stress. For instance, when you're dealing with someone who raises their voice or refuses to follow rules or becomes physically intimidating, in those sort of situations, it's important to try and stay calm. I know it's not easy, but we have to try and do it. Keep some distance and know your exit routes. By being aware of these everyday risks, you can plan ahead and then take small steps to protect your personal safety. Personal safety then, is yours at risk? Well, the Health and Safety Authority, they define work-related violence and aggression as any incident where staff are abused, threatened or assaulted in circumstances that's connected to their work. So it can involve anything that challenges a person's safety, well-being or health, whether that's in a very obvious way or a more subtle type of way. So it's important to remember that violence and aggression can take two forms, physical and non-physical. Physical examples could be things like spitting at someone, pushing them, hitting them, punching them, or even more serious acts like the use of a weapon or object to attack someone. Unfortunately, there are situations some workers have experienced, especially in frontline or public-facing roles. Non-physical violence, though, that can be just as harmful. That includes the likes of verbal abuse, being shouted at, receiving threats or even threatening gestures like someone clenching their fists or pointing aggressively or invading your personal space in a way that feels intimidating. So both physical and non-physical acts, they can have a real impact on staff, not just in the moment but afterwards as well. It can affect confidence, well-being and overall safety at work. And finally, it's not just up to one person to manage this. No. Employers and employees both have responsibilities when it comes to health and safety. That means organisations should have clear policies, training and reporting procedures in place, while staff need to be aware of the risks and follow safe practices and report incidents so they can be dealt with properly. A little bit about legislation now. So, under the Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Act 2005, employers have a legal duty to protect the safety, health and welfare of their employees and also members of the public who might be affected by their undertakings, so their work. So that means risks, so including violence or aggression, must be managed just like any other workplace hazard. So the employers, they need to do three things. So first, they identify the hazards in the workplace. For example, dealing with upset customers at a public counter. Or secondly, assessing the risks to staff, like recognising which roles might face higher chances of incidents of violence and aggression. And thirdly, put in place control measures such as training staff in de-escalation type techniques or ensuring secure layouts at reception areas. The principle is pretty simple. Violence and aggression are risks and they need to be managed in the same way as you would for other things such as the likes of slips, trips and falls or manual handling. The goal is always to safeguard people and create a safe working environment. Workplace violence and aggression, they're addressed through a number of different laws. So the first one we're going to look at is the Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Regulations 2016, which cover incidents that cause injury or risk safety, including that of violent acts, etc. Then we've got the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act of 1997, and they deal with assault, harassment and online abuse. Then there's the Employment Equality Act of 1998 to 2015, and they protect employees from harassment, discrimination and aggression. Then we've got the Defamation Act of 2009, and that addresses harmful statements, including online content that damages a person's reputation. Finally, we've got COCO's Act of 2020, and that criminalises threatening or offensive communication intended to cause psychological harm. Just a little bit of background on this act. So Nicola Fox, she was a young 21-year-old girl from Kerry, and she died by suicide in 2018. She suffered years of online abuse and harassment. Her mother, Jackie Fox, she became an advocate for stronger legal measures to combat cyberbullying in this country and protect individuals from online harm. In 2020, she presented a petition with over 33,000 signatures on it, urging the criminalisation of cyberbullying and related offences. Her aim was to honour her daughter's memory and prevent similar tragedies happening. What an amazing woman to have highlighted this so that others won't have to go through what her family did. I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching this overview of this presentation. As I said at the start, your safety is always top priority. And this session here has covered some of the key points, but the full course explores all the areas in detail, giving you the confidence to recognise and manage risks effectively. Safety First Solutions, they provide this course on a range of practical training programs designed to protect you and your team. So investing in knowledge and preparation makes all the difference, as we've seen in the last couple of slides. So remember, the key message here is stay safe, stay aware and plan ahead. And if you found this course useful, check out the other courses that I offer, and I'd really appreciate it if you could share it with others who might benefit from its content.